for Thursday, October 27th, 2022. We are going to preview Week 8 in the NFL with me, Aaron Schatz, the editor-in-chief of Football Outsiders, and Mike Tanier, as always. We've got a bunch of good games to talk about. Sorry, no guest this week. Things got kind of foobarred with our guest, but we've got some good games. And, of course, we've got our sponsor. So before we get into this week's game, let me talk to you about Underdog Fantasy. Play Underdog Fantasy with us, and you will double your first deposit up to $100 with promo code OUTSIDERS. If your season-long fantasy teams are floundering, you can play Underdog's Battle Royale. Yeah, that's right. I see you out there, people who drafted Jameis Winston like me. It's not that bad. He's my second quarterback in Scott Fishbowl, and my first quarterback is Josh Allen. It's not that bad.
And he's the second quarterback in
two quarterback league. So now I'm starting Josh Allen and Taylor Heineke. Don't be like me. Play Underdog's Battle Royale. It's a fast 6-round weekly fantasy football draft with easier chances to win than traditional daily fantasy sports. You can even win $50,000 if you grab first place, or you can try their pick'em games where you easily pick a player's chances to go higher or lower than projected stat lines, even in states where traditional prop betting currently isn't available. Underdog is the fastest growing fantasy site around. Join the fun at underdogfantasy.com or download Underdog in the App Store. Use promo code OUTSIDERS now to double your first deposit up to $100.
Battle Royale is perfect, not just for folks who draft poorly, but for people like me who just forget their lineup if they draft in August and they try to run a conventional old school one. And like for me especially, it's like Breece Hall will get injured. I'll write about Breece Hall getting injured. I'll go on the Monday show with Ian and we'll talk for 15 minutes about Breece Hall getting injured. And then I won't take Breece Hall out of my lineup because I'll forget my fantasy team. Battle Royale, you go in like now. You can go in Thursday afternoon, pick a team for the week, lightning quick, little snake draft, come out the other end, win a lot of prizes. Forget about it by Monday if you did poorly. Don't forget about it if you did well.
I have a league in which I forgot to activate DeAndre Hopkins last week.
Yeah, Cliff Kingsbury forgot to activate DeAndre Hopkins too.
Well, they threw to Hopkins plenty. He got plenty of fantasy points. It's just, it's not like I don't do this for a living. Luckily, that's the league that doesn't matter. For people who know, I play in a league with my friends called the Multi-League, where we draft 3 sports at once. And it's a keeper league. And I won last year. So I'm basically punting this year. My team consists of DeAndre Hopkins, Deshaun Watson, Brian Robinson, Chris Olave. It's all like guys who missed the first half of the year.
It's like
Jameson Williams.
It's like the feel good and feel bad stories of the year, all mushed into one.
Yeah. The important thing is, will they play next year? That's the only thing that matters to me.
Wow.
All right. So we start with a really good game tonight, right? So we don't always cover the Thursday night game on this podcast. And I apologize to people who are listening afterwards, and we're about to talk about a game that you've already seen, but for people who are watching live on the live stream, and of course, do not forget, you want to be watching live on the live stream, YouTube or Twitch. It's a youtube.com/Football Outsiders Network, I believe, because you can comment and have discussions with us live during the show. So that is the reason why you want to be here live, 1 p.m. Eastern every day for the Football Outsiders live streams. So let's talk about Baltimore at Tampa Bay tonight. That is a really good game. Baltimore is the top team among the 4-3 teams by DVOA, and Tampa Bay is the top team among the 3-4 teams by DVOA. So both of these are teams that are better than their records according to our numbers.
Right.
And then the game is seriously complicated by the fact that there are a lot of injuries going on.
Yeah. By the way, you wrote about the Ravens and the perception of the Ravens and how much that's skewed by that one game. That Miami Dolphins game earlier in the season. So if they don't lose a really inexplicable game, they're a 5-2 team, and they are what we think they are at that point. But because of that, almost like hard to explain meltdown late, that's why they're in this predicament as a 4-3 team.
Right, where Miami I think the Ravens ended up with more yards per play, and the Ravens ended up with fewer penalties, and it's like everything indicated that they should win the game, except that they didn't win the game. It's a crazy. So by the post-game win expectancy formula, it is the second most surprising win of the last dozen years.
Wow.
So it came out as the expected win was Miami 0.9%.
So there was a 99.1% chance typically that the Ravens win that. That's what you're saying.
That the Ravens would win that game. And the only game that was lower was a 2013 game with, I think, Tennessee and Jacksonville that was at 0.5%.
Wow.
So it was a weird game, and it totally affects our how we see the Ravens. But then you have to ask, like, who are these teams? Because so let's start with the Buccaneers, right? Carlton Davis, Sean Murphy Bunting, Logan Ryan is on IR, and Antoine Winfield. So that is four of their top 6 defensive backs who are out for secondary.
Right.
And then Russell Gage.
Okay.
And then nobody knows if Julio Jones will play. And Cameron Brate.
Yeah.
And Luke Gadecki, I think that's one of their offensive linemen.
He's one of their offensive linemen. And I think he was one of the ones who was starting in place of one of the other guys who got hurt. Other side of the ball, Ravens is trying to get an update. I think they're practicing right now. But Mark Andrews and Rashad Bateman, hopeful that they'll be able to play, but that doesn't. Excuse me, they're not practicing right now. So the game is
as of yesterday. Andrews had not practiced all week. Bateman was limited in practice yesterday.
Limited in practice. I got my days mixed up. I thought this was Wednesday. Yeah, so they're hopeful. It doesn't sound super optimistic. So we have a team with no secondary against a team, well, generally that doesn't have any receivers, but now might be without their top tight end.
Right. Who is their top receiver effectively?
Yes, who's basically their wide receiver one. Looking at the prop bets, it looks like Vegas thinks Mark Andrews is not going to be there. For example, he's at like plus 120 as an anytime touchdown scorer. He's not usually around plus 120 for the Ravens as an anytime touchdown scorer.
Yeah, I know we have not. No, Phil Galligan asks if he missed a discussion of the Tony news. I think we're going to get to the Giants later in the show, and we will discuss. We're going to discuss both of the recent big trades because we're going to get to both Philadelphia and the Giants later in the show. You had a parlay that you wanted to go with, but I have a feeling you're less likely to go with it now that that Andrews is very likely not playing.
Right. It's more one that I wanted to talk about. I wasn't sure I was totally in on it, and I'm also lost it in my notes. So here it is. Yeah. So the parlay was, and this was from DraftKings, Lamar Jackson, 220 plus passing yards, Mark Andrews, anytime touchdown scorer, and the Ravens money line at plus 650. And I have a funny feeling when I looked at that, the house already knew Andrews was probably not going to play. They come up with these a lot of times Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday, and they're giving you that kind of odds based on that. Obviously not going to play a parlay like that with Andrews unavailable.
Yeah. The Tampa defense was stellar the first 5 weeks of the season.
Yes.
We've looked a lot the last couple of weeks. Why has Tampa lost these 2 bad games, especially losing 21-3 to Carolina is just, awful. And the fact is, like, their defense is still top 10. It's 5th. It's actually 5th by DVOA, but they've been really bad against the pass the last 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why. I mean, I haven't watched the games back to see why. Unfortunately, our guest was going to be a Tampa person who was going to be able to talk to us about why the Tampa pass defense has struggled so much the last 2 weeks, whether it's the injuries, whether it's a pass rush thing, something else. We'll have to have him later in the season.
One thing that I did say is that the last week's game was nothing for a big chunk of that game. So it was a situation where the pass defense starts to fall apart, probably just from the amount of opportunities that the amount of times that the Panthers got the ball, they start buckling late. They're trying to be perfect for this entire game. I think that had part to do it. Keep in mind, though, it's PJ Walker. It's not like,
PJ Walker made some really good throws. Like, it's interesting. I saw a few plays of that game switching to red zone. Okay.
Yeah.
And when I was watching, Brady missed throws.
Yes.
Like, Brady did not look good. But then when I was not watching and I saw some highlights afterwards, Brady made some really good throws. And if you look at Tampa Bay this year, they are 10th passing the ball. So it looks like Brady is declined, but he has not gone in the tank. Like he hasn't, this is not Peyton Manning in 2015. He hasn't fallen off the cliff. He's getting pressured at a ridiculous rate. They're 26th in ESPN's pass block win rate. And especially up the middle because of the injuries that they suffered in the preseason and retirement of Marpet. And then the running game is non-existent. 31st in DVOA. Playoff Lenny has become suckballs Lenny. And they're getting nothing out of him. They're getting nothing out of him. And the line, they're getting nothing out of the line. So as much as we want to be like, oh my God, Brady and Rodgers falling apart.
Right.
The numbers, and this goes for Green Bay too, we'll get to them later, suggest not Brady and Rodgers falling apart, but Brady and Rodgers just not playing at the MVP level and everything around them falling apart.
Yeah, them playing at a second quartile quarterback level.
Right.
That's where you're at. And that's shocking. Now, Fournette's success rate is just 49%. And folks, you can go on Football Outsiders, see our success rate. That's like a running back batting average. That's whether or not he's getting you 5 or 6 yards on first down, getting you close to 6 on second down. It's very low, 49%. Another thing that they're having with their running game is on third and fourth and short. So go for it situations, trying to get a short yardage, 1 or 2 yards, 21 carries, just 11 first downs. And that was a problem last week where they're trying to convert a couple short yardage situations. Fournette and the offensive line isn't getting it done. So off the bat, those two things that are creating situations where first, they're not extending drives. Secondly, they're putting Brady in third and long a lot. And that's what I'm seeing there is that Brady's third and long conversion rates are pretty low. Like that's the thing he's not really succeeding at as well as he did in the past. He's not Peyton Manning in 2015 who was throwing pick sixes all over the field.
Right.
But third and 9, what have you got for us? And more often than not now, it's an off-target pass or he's pressured and he's putting the ball at somebody's feet. And that's obviously not what we saw even last year from Brady.
Yeah. Brady has not fallen off the cliff. He just has tripped on a pothole. Like he's fallen, but it's different.
He's fallen, but he can get up.
Interesting to see if the Ravens, how much pressure they bring. One interesting thing has been the switch in defensive coordinator for the Ravens is that they're blitzing now at an average rate, right? They used to be super blitz happy. And I know we like to think of it as don't blitz Brady because he's so good, but the last few years, that's not true. Unlike Mahomes or Josh Allen, he actually has not been as good if you blitz him. But the Ravens are low in pressure rate. They're low in pass rush win rate. But at the same time, Tampa is so bad pass blocking. Like, there's a little bit of the movable object versus the resistible force here. What's gonna happen with the pass rush, the Baltimore pass rush.
Right. And in the past, it was like, you blitz Brady, he'll beat you. Or you look at the weapons that he has at his disposal and they're going to destroy you. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin are still very, very good players, obviously. I don't know what tier they're at. We all saw, Evans dropped the touchdown last week and all that other goofy stuff that's going on. You look past that. You mentioned if Gage is available, Julio Jones is vaporware at this point. Lenny's Lenny. There's no third down back who can make plays out of the backfield. I know when I was on with
Ian, they never played Bernard this year. Yeah.
Yeah. A couple of weeks ago when I was on with Ian on the Monday show, I was like, this should be the team that goes after McCaffrey. Okay. But that's not the direction they headed in. You can attack this team. You can attack a weak offensive line. You can attack an immobile quarterback, and you can generate things off the blitz. By the way, I'm looking for that anytime touchdown scorer.
Yeah, so am I. I'm looking for ideas here.
I don't love it.
We'll finish talking about this game, and then we're going to answer Gino Z's question before we get to the next game. The other thing I want to talk about was how Lamar Jackson was awful against the blitz last year and was blitzed more than I think any quarterback in the league except Mac Jones. Mm-hmm. This year, he has been pretty good against the blitz.
Good.
And we know that Todd Bowles likes to blitz. Right. So if they blitz, are we going to first of all see scrambling Lamar, or second of all see actually passing well Lamar?
Right.
It's a problem for them.
Yeah, we've seen more of quality scrambling Lamar, but more of I can just beat it with a short over the top pass, and a little less of we saw a little bit of it last week, the run straight backwards and then throw a screen pass at somebody's feet, Lamar. That's still in play, but we've seen less of it. You're right, by the way. Tampa Bay with the blitz, 31.9% blitz weight per Pro Football Reference, 5th in the NFL, so they are still very blitz happy. By the way, anytime score, I mean, Lamar's sitting there at plus 180.
Yeah, that's a good one. Do you need a look? I don't know if he needs an anytime score from this game or from any game.
Oh. If he needs you need an anytime scorer now, you probably need an anytime scorer tonight. Otherwise, you got 3 more days to find one.
That's a lock. I mean, the best for tonight is going to be, I mean, Lamar Jackson has to run it in to count as an anytime scorer, right? Not pass.
Yeah.
It would have been Andrews, except that we don't know if Andrews is playing.
Right.
If he's not one for the week, our projections suggest Joe Mixon against Cleveland. No, he says this game.
This game, say it's Thursday. You need
Mike
a Thursday night game play.
Mike Evans is the best bet, I think.
Okay, Mike Evans, you can get him at clicking the link right now. Plus 125. Plus 125. So not a lot of meat on that bone, but hey, maybe you'll get an autograph from the game from him afterwards as well.
Yeah. I thought that the line on this was actually Ravens -1.5. And I don't know whether I wrote it down wrong or it's moved, but it is now Tampa -1.5.
Tampa -2.
Oh, you have Tampa -2. I had Tampa -1.5 at the consensus this morning.
So what all that's saying is farewell, Mark Andrews. That's what that line that's moving.
Yeah.
Slowly as we speak is happening.
But also Carlton Davis and Antoine Winfield. And I mean, I think it evens out. Like Mark Andrews is important, but like your whole secondary other than Jamal Dean is also important.
Yeah. Except that this is a team where you don't attack the secondary as much, where those receivers, you can win against those receivers who I can't even name right now. I guess Deshaun, and DuVernay and those guys.
Yeah, it's DuVernay and I mean, who knows how much Deshaun Jackson there will be? No, it's Duvernay. Duvernay is the main receiver.
Duvernay is the main receiver. Still a lot of speed. They'll probably attack with like end arounds and stuff there too. I still like the Ravens. I still like the Ravens.
I still like the Ravens too. I don't want to be too negative about the Buccaneers because I still think they're a good team. But these are both teams where you're like, I still think this is a good team even despite their record. Mm-hmm. But I think the Ravens are a little bit better team. Makes
sense.
All right, our second game. Hopefully we've helped Gino Z. And again, don't forget if you're watching live, YouTube or Twitch, please ask questions. Talk to us about these games. Pittsburgh at Philadelphia. So we'll start with the fact that some big trade news to talk about. How do you feel about Robert Quinn?
Very wise addition, very good tactical addition. Did not cost a lot in terms of draft capital. Is not costing any real long-term salary assets, and especially since there seems to be some home brewing in terms of how they're handling his contract. And people are asking, like Eagles fans, neighbors are saying, well, how much does this guy have left? And I don't know how much he has left. I know a lot of people have been talking about Quinn's double team statistics, and he's been getting double teamed a lot for a defense that doesn't have a lot else in the front four. Chicago Bears also blitzed less than any other team in the NFL, which sounds wrong for the Bears, but they blitz on 14.6% of their passing plays, which means they're expecting more from Quinn in their front four, which might not be up to snuff. But here's the thing with the Eagles. I'm going to go through the Eagles' pressure numbers. Okay, total pressures per Sports Info Solutions. Josh Sweat, 17. Hassan Reddick, 15. Brandon Graham, 11. Those are okay numbers. None of them are like a top 20 person in pressures. And what they clearly want to get there is a fourth person into this rotation. They were hoping Derek Barnett would be that early in the season. He didn't work out. Teron Johnson was getting a lot of reps, like rotating with Graham. He's not really a difference maker. Quinn has had 12 pressures this year. You add him, and the Eagles, again, are kind of a low blitz team. And now you can.
And they like to rotate defensive line.
And they want to rotate, especially Graham. Graham is my age. Okay. He's got a beard as gray as mine at this point. You want to get those guys rotating. Quinn is a major rotation piece to add to this defense.
I mean, when I was on Eagles 365
at
the beginning of this week, and they asked me about Brian Burns, and I said, I feel like the Eagles already have a really good pass rush, and they've already got a deep pass rush, and you don't need to send off first-round picks for a pass rusher. But a fourth-round pick? Oh, yes. Oh, that's great. This gives them like what they would have wanted with Brian Burns. Not as good, but again, they weren't looking for a starting pass rusher. They were looking for a rotating pass rusher. And I think Quinn does have something left, and this is a great trade for them.
Yeah, this is a good thing, right? He's going to be a different guy at 25 snaps for a contender than he is getting beaten up right now for this team that doesn't know which direction it's going in.
So I said this earlier on Twitter, looking over splits to prepare for the show. The Eagles are going to lose a game at a certain point. They're not going 17-0.
Right.
When they lose a game, they're going to lose a game to a team that runs the ball because they're actually weak against first down runs. They're 26th in DVOA. They struggle against third down runs. They're 31st in DVOA. That's the weakness of this team is run defense. Pittsburgh is not the team. Pittsburgh is not the team that's going to make them feel bad about the run defense. Najee is that offensive line. They're better than you expect pass blocking. They're actually 10th in ESPN's pass block win rate, but the run blocking is awful.
Yeah, and I think all of their pass blocking statistics are helped by that awful system. And that awful system of Matt Canada's is designed to protect a offensive line at all costs. When you're doing about 5 or 6 different rollout concepts a game, you're rolling away from their best edge rusher, or you're getting the tight end involved as a blocker, and that's why you're rolling, et cetera. And that's what you can help with that. One of the things that the Steelers try to do is I think they're trying to do. I'm not sure what they're trying to do. They're trying to generate yak. They're trying to get the ball in space to some of these guys, but it's not working out. I looked up yards after the catch of their receivers. Deontay Johnson, somebody I think of as sort of a yak guy, is second worst in the NFL with 1.4 yards after the catch per completion. Pickens is 7th worst at the NFL, 2.0 yards per catch after the completion. That's okay. He's more
when you run that many drags like Johnson does, you should not be that low. Pickens is much more of a like jump at 50-50 ball guy. I can see that. Johnson should not be that low.
Right. Johnson should be getting those drags and getting 12 yards at a pop afterwards. And Pickens, I'll say this, the 50-50 deep guys usually get their yaks because they catch it and they run 20 more yards after the bump. Like they're past the guy. Everything with Pickens has to be a jump ball because I don't think the quarterbacks get it to him in stride enough. Freiermuth is 7th worst among tight ends. Anyone listening, you can try to guess who's worst among tight ends in yak. Get a no prize if you can guess who's worst in tight ends among yak. But Freiermuth is 7th worst. And Najee is 5th worst against running backs. And you think about how much they want to do with screens and other things to get Najee the ball in space. He's not getting yak either. So you have an offense that is so, I think, predictable by these opponents that like, oh, here comes the shallow drag. We're just going to sit on it. Here comes the screen. We're going to sit on it. And the Steelers can't move the ball.
The other stat that I picked out, it's funny. The Eagles are phenomenal against starting wide receivers and deep passes. But of course, the Steelers, how much do the Steelers pass deep, right? Everything is get it out quick, short.
Yeah.
So that strength doesn't really come into play here.
Right. One bomb to Pickens.
The worst tight end in yak, he says, is at Taysom Hill.
Nope. Somebody's going to come up with it. Useful. I'm counting on you. I thought you were going to jump in with it. It's not Taysom. Taysom, when he gets the catch, he can move.
I have no idea who it is.
Actually. Okay. Well, we'll save it to the end.
The Steelers are 24th against passes up the middle. And I was like, oh, remember that from last year? That was Hurts' thing. He never passed up the middle. So I went and looked. Hurts still throws up the middle less than other quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
He has 37. The average team in the league has 53 of them. Okay. But he actually has above average DVOA on passes up the middle this year.
Mm-hmm.
He's at 74%, and the league average is 33% above average. So,
right. And if you look at our Monday thing, folks, if you are a FO Plus member on Monday, Aaron and I put together a DVOA preview, and I had Hurts' numbers in there over the middle. And again, they're very competitive. They're not top of the league or something, but like now it's like 12th in the league, 13th in the league. If you're 12th and 13th in the league in that, and you're really good at other stuff, but you're right, they should be able to exploit.
Yeah, that's a weakness for the Steelers defense. So, Minkah Fitzpatrick or no Minkah Fitzpatrick, they're strong against tight ends, but they're weak against passes over the middle. So, this would be a good time for drags. They like the little RPO slant to AJ Brown.
They have different ways of getting Goddard involved in the middle of the field. So there's a couple of things they like to do, but I think Brown has really been the difference with that. It's not Cole Kmet sleepy time.
So the line on this one is Eagles minus 10.5 with a total of 43.5.
And the Steelers have been burning me on both sides of that, where it's like, I think the Steelers are covering the heck out of this, and they don't. And then they, beat the Buccaneers, where it's like, okay, I'm feeling comfortable. I took a Buccaneers money line. And I was like, well, I'm going to be comfortable with this. And you go the other way. YOLO, in it to win it. I'll roll with the Eagles on this and lay those.
If I had to pick, I would go Eagles, but that 10.5 makes me uncomfortable. It could absolutely be a 10-point win.
Yeah, and there's no good same game parlay to juice it up. So I would just lay. I'll lay with the Eagles.
All right.
By the way, the title. By the way, Zach Ertz, folks. Zach Ertz.
Zach Ertz.
Little
elderly. I think Kyle Pitts could not be lowest in yak because he means yak per catch, not total.
Yes. Yeah, you have to actually catch the ball to be on the list, and I believe Kyle Pitts has -3 catches this year. So.
Let's talk about my boys, the New England Patriots at the New York Jets. This is the number 2 game for the importance to playoff odds. Patriots make the playoffs 39% of the time if they win, 13% if they lose. Jets, 78% if they win, 47% if they lose. I have to tell you how wild it was to be at that game Monday night.
Okay.
I said this on Twitter, and we have arguments all the time about whether momentum is a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
Analytics people argue that there's no definition of momentum that you can ever actually test and prove is real. I know it's something that players feel, but
right.
it's meaningless. Like it might be real, but it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
And if I ever had a game to convince me of that, this was the game. I cannot tell you how electric that place was after Zappi's second touchdown. And I was on the other side of a window. So I wasn't in the stand. Like that, you could hear it. There was so much momentum for the Patriots. And then they completely fell flat on their faces for the entire rest of the game.
And to clarify here, you're somebody who has been there for several AFC Championship victories.
Yes.
And playoff victories. So you're at Gillette frequently over the last 15 years. You know Gillette at its most electric. We were there for the Deflategate game, sir. We've seen it all. And that you're describing it as like a unique atmosphere.
Yeah, it was like, it was the excitement in the stands was like at AFC Championship game levels. Like it was just like, this guy is the guy, and Oh my God, look, he came in and the 2 touchdowns right away, and here's the big win over Chicago that we knew we were getting in the first place, and just the cheering was loud, and the people were psyched, and it was like, that was the most momentum. That was so much momentum, and then they went out there and they sucked.
Right. And then the Bears said, "Here's an idea. Let's cover their receivers." And the game suddenly changed.
Now, I will say this: talking to people in the press room after the game, there are a couple of things that really went wrong for the Patriots in that game that the Jets are not equipped to deal with. But first of all, the Jets' biggest strength right now is Sauce Gardner. Their biggest strength is, with Breece Hall injured, that's no longer their biggest strength. Their biggest strength is Sauce Gardner shutting down your number 1 wideout. The Patriots don't have a number 1 wideout.
Yeah, Devontae has been.
Yeah, but you shut down Devontae and they're happy to go to everyone else. Like it's not like you shut down DeAndre Hopkins and then they don't know Arizona doesn't know what to do with itself.
In year 4 of that, yes.
Right. The other thing is Zach Wilson may have had a couple of long scrambles last year that gave him really good rushing numbers. But he's not a mobile quarterback.
Right.
This is not Justin Fields. This is not Lamar Jackson. The Patriots prize intelligence over speed on defense, and it leaves them completely susceptible to mobile quarterbacks. And this is not one. So this is not going to look like Chicago.
Right. And they're slow. And it wasn't just they couldn't stop Fields. They look slow on defense when they're not facing an offense that's kind of a grinding offense. Like against the Lions, you're fine because it's kind of a grinding offense, etc.
But the Jets are kind of a grinding offense, especially now that they don't have Breece Hall. I mean,
the speed. Yeah, I mean, what's his name? Barrios is like a quick guy. Wilson is more of a finesse type receiver than a pure speed guy on one end. Running backs Carter's more of a power guy. So I can definitely see that. And the other factor about this is it's the Jets with a 75% chance of reaching the playoffs, and they've got to face the Patriots, and they got to do it without both Breece Hall and Elijah Vera Tucker at this point. Everything is just setting up for a Jets failure.
I mean, I can give you splits, right? The Jets offense on first down is 28th passing and 8th running. The Patriots defense on first down is 2nd against the pass and 27th against the run. So everything sets up for the Jets to run on first down, except again, they just lost a really good guard and they just lost their really good rookie running back. So are they going to really be that good running the ball?
I was just catching up. Corey Davis is not another guy I think of speed. I wanted to make sure he was still out there.
Yeah.
Also, I think Jets fans have talked themselves into thinking Zach Wilson is good. And I had to go back and watch that Broncos game. I was watching it first to say, well, let's see if there's anything to Mark Rippon. And I was just stunned at the sort of weird, oh my God, I'm running around doing spin moves 20 yards behind the line of scrimmage and heaving the ball backwards, Zach Wilson stuff that we saw. And Matt Judon might eat his soul in this.
Yeah, it's interesting. The Patriots are not good in ESPN's pass rush win rate, but Matt Judon keeps getting the quarterbacks. The overall pass rush is not good, but they keep scheming up ways for Judon to just come in untouched.
Right. He's getting free. He's beating a lot of people. He was dominating, I think, early against Justin Fields in that game. And that was one of the reasons the comeback by the Patriots appeared to be on. So I don't know if the Jets have a solution for that. And any pressure at all, I start looking at Wilson saying, are you going to do a Wentz thing here? Because that's what he looks like right now.
The Patriots defense is better against deep passes than short passes. So that might be a weakness that's not good to have against the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
The Jets are weak against passes up the middle, where Jones is a little bit below average and Zappe doesn't even throw the ball.
Right, and it's going to be
Jones that they're never going to take advantage of that weakness because he just doesn't throw it in the middle of the field.
No, that sounds like 90% chance it's Mac Jones at this point.
It is going to be Mac Jones. He's going to start. I think the question is, if Mac Jones struggles, would they pull
it? I'm there for that chaos. That's just such a counterproductive maneuver, but keep doing it. Keep doing it, Patriots.
It's not counterproductive if you want to feed the local press. My God.
That's what I mean. It's great for me. It's great for you.
It is a dream for the media. This is like the greatest thing that's ever happened to the media, this quarterback controversy. Oh, God, it feels like 2001 all over again. It is so good.
And it's terrible for the young quarterbacks. Because like you said, that electric atmosphere can turn sour if you're 22 and are used to Western Kentucky.
It starts with Jones having to sit there while the fans go Zappe, and then Zappe throws picks, and then the fans are going to go Jones, and it's just a mess. It's a mess.
6 months ago, you were being told that you were the starting quarterback for the next 15 to 18 years, and how much like Brady you are, and the crowd has turned on you after 2 straight wins against the Lions and the Keebler Elves. I love it from a chaos standpoint. But I think Jones, like you said, passes over the middle of the field. That's what Jones can do well. He can work the middle. He can do progression of reads. That's what they like doing with him, and that could be a good opportunity for him.
The problem is Jones was like Brady. He was like 2001 Brady,
right?
Not 2004 until now Brady,
right?
Like the odds that 2001 Brady grows into now Brady are very small.
Right. Especially when you don't have an offensive coordinator because you don't think you need one. Yes, because you have 2009 Brady.
So it's interesting. The Football Outsiders picks formula thinks this should be a pick 'em. And that absolutely Jets. And the line, Vegas is smart. Vegas has actually moved this line to 2.5. It was at 1.5. It was Jets plus 1.5. Now it's Jets plus 2.5. And yet I'm trying not to be a homer here, but if it feels like the Patriots will take this, it feels like the Jets with the running game sort of neutered, and it's just a different situation than Chicago. I don't know. I'm feeling a little bit like the Patriots.
I'm feeling like the Patriots too. And that line is everyone like me in the public saying, I'll believe the Jets beat the Patriots when I see the Jets beat the Patriots in a real game. I will believe it when I see it. Until then, the Jets are still going to be one of these teams. I mean, it's hard to say. I'm looking for the Patriots in this one.
If the Jets win this game, they probably move into the DVOA top 10, and we have to take them seriously.
Take them more seriously. Agreed. And then again, Sauce Gardner's big sudden rise, which is great. Quentin Williams, the way he's playing, some of these other guys, it's like, yeah, I'll acknowledge it when it's not this little hot start where they're going right into like their biggest anxiety in the world, which is the Patriots.
Old Hetty 403 also feeling the Patriots in this one, same reason, because of unfortunate Brees news. Yeah. And it's too bad because the league was better with Brees Hall healthy.
Yeah, he was getting 40-yard, 60-yard runs at a time, and it was really spurring that team a little bit.
All right, 4:00. The big game is San Francisco at the LA Rams. This is the most important game of the week for the playoff odds.
Okay.
Rams, 57% with a win, 26% with a loss. 49ers, 66% with a win, 33% with a loss.
Okay.
So for both of these teams, their playoff odds are double with a win compared to what they are with a loss.
Right. And both of them stay in it even with the loss, in part because it's the NFC, and in part, I guess, because it's the NFC West, and someone's going to win it. And it might be the Seahawks, but it might not be the Seahawks.
This is important. It's a division game. And it's interesting, the system likes Rams plus 1.5 because we're still using Dave, because we're still using some element of preseason projections. And the Rams were better in the preseason projections than what they've actually been over the first 7 weeks. Except, doesn't it feel like, except for last year's playoffs, the 49ers just eat the Rams' lunch every time they play each other?
And they did a couple of weeks ago, and it just seems like it's a bad matchup.
Yeah, it's interesting. The 49ers defense on the 3 downs goes 4th on first down, 7th on second down, 31st on third down.
What's going on with that?
That can't possibly continue. That sounds like the kind of thing that can't possibly continue. And the Rams offense is the other way. The Rams offense gets better on third down than on first down.
These are usually tells of something that's not going to sustain, right?
Yeah, it's usually third down being that different, especially on defense. Offense is a little bit more consistent, the third down thing, but on defense, that's usually not sustainable. The other is the 49ers. I always talk about, whenever we talk about the 49ers, we talk about the fact that they're really, really strong against short passes and really, really weak against deep passes. Mm-hmm. Well, guess who is close to the worst passer in the league on deep passes this year?
Matthew Stafford.
Except Van Jefferson might be back this week.
I'm not gonna get excited about that.
He's kind of a field stretcher guy.
Odell Beckham Jefferson? No.
But Van Jefferson is. Look, I mean, I know, like Matt Harmon does Reception Perception, always talks about, people sleep on the importance of Van Jefferson to this offense.
He's better than the Skronik.
Yes,
he's better than the Skronik. Can I throw something at you on the other side of the ball? Los Angeles Rams pressures per Pro Football Reference, only 26 total pressures against the other quarterback. Dead last in the NFL. Now, again, part of it's they're one of the 6-game teams. Like, they've had a bye and other teams haven't. But next lowest is 38 with the Falcons. And they also only have them with 4 Harrys the entire season. So, you talk about, well, if Cooper Kupp doesn't get the ball, no one gets the ball. If Aaron Donald doesn't get the opposing quarterback, no one is getting the opposing quarterback for the Rams.
Big Mike, you're going to have to send us a link on that one because I'm not seeing
it. Yeah, thanks, Big Mike.
Yeah, so back to this game. It's definitely a little bit of a test unfortunately, it's a little bit of a test for 2 things, and I don't know which one will be true. It's a little bit of a test for how much are we correct for still incorporating preseason projections at this point in the season,
right,
at the level that we incorporate them. Because when it comes to actually this year, there's no question the 49ers have been the better team.
Right.
And it's also a little bit of a test for, or is this just a really bad matchup for the Rams?
And I think
And
there's a little bit of bad matchup there. And it's a team by team situation, but I feel more comfortable personally saying we still have what percent is the preseason progression at this point? It's really low.
No, it's not. It's 50%.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I've done work on it. Like, it really is amazing how late into the season preseason projection still matters.
Okay. Well, if that's a 20-year trend, if that's the way we're doing it, then we have to respect it to some degree. That said, I still lean towards the 49ers in this one, even though I'm not the biggest 49ers believer, especially after the back-to-back losses, because I don't know who or what the Rams are at this point besides Cooper Kupp and Aaron Donald. I don't know what their path to victory is supposed to be.
Yeah. And interestingly, ESPN had a pass rush win rate type chart that went up earlier this week showing that Aaron Donald is just the best in the league now this year, not otherworldly the best in the league, which is
Inevitable.
interesting. Like, he's, an inevitable that eventually he would decline a little bit and not be on a different planet than everyone else.
Right.
By the way, Jackson Pulrang wants to know if he should start Pollard, Godwin, or Mostert at the flex. It sounds like Ezekiel Elliott is not playing this week, so the answer is absolutely Tony Pollard, unless something comes out that Elliott is playing.
Yeah.
If Elliott is playing, I would start Mostert, but it's worth waiting and missing Godwin to find out if it's Pollard, because if Pollard is the starter for Dallas, then you absolutely want Pollard.
Excellent advice.
So it sounds like we're both feeling like 49ers.
We're feeling 49ers, and we're going against our own projection.
We're going against our own picks. Just the same with the Patriots Jets. We're going against our own picks. Our emotion and the sort of, it's not just emotion, but it's the objective just fact of the 49ers, except for that playoff game last year, the 49ers just winning over the Rams significantly.
And one thing, especially with DVOA and the 49ers, I joked last week, the 49ers have had 3 seasons already. They had Trey Lance season. They had the Garoppolo, but we're just going to try and muddle through. And now they've got the Garoppolo McCaffrey, we think we're contender season, with Bosa's injuries superimposed on that. So, analytically, this is moving target. It's always a moving target, but sometimes the target's going back and forth all over the road and you can't find it. That might be what the 49ers are right now.
All right, another big 4 p.m. game is the Giants at Seattle. So someone asked us earlier about the Kadarius Toney trade. So this is our chance to talk about Kadarius Toney going from the Giants to the Chiefs for a supplemental 3rd round pick. It's I don't exactly know what you call it. It's the pick that the Chiefs got because they had a minority hired by another team as GM.
Yes.
So it's not the Chiefs' regular pick. It's like a few picks later.
Yeah, it's similar to what they didn't trade those picks for McCaffrey, but the reason why the 49ers had more extra draft capital to trade for McCaffrey is because they have these sort of Rooney Rule adjacent supplemental picks, which, they paid too much for McCaffrey. 3rd rounder for Toney?
If they can unlock the talent, it makes sense. But what you said before we came on is true, which is this is not a guy who only had a problem with Joe Judge. This is a guy whose personality issues became worse when they brought in Daboll, who has worked amazingly well with almost everybody else on the team. Mm-hmm. And yes, CCX3 is right. It's a 3rd and a 6th.
I'll say this. Sometimes when you get, the personality
thing.
Remember,
Tony comes cheap because he's on a rookie deal.
Yeah, he comes cheap, so you can keep him for a little bit of a while. They had Wendell Robinson when Wendell Robinson is very similar, has come around, I think, early for the Giants. I think that's helped them make the move. They're clearly trying to clean things up in that receiver room because Galladay is still like in the weeds somewhere. With these slot gadgety guys, sometimes when we evaluate them, we dream of all the things that an offense can do with them, and then an offense can't do all that much with them. They're a slot gadgety guy. Like there's like 4 or 5 things you can do with those guys. And if your offense is not super functional and they don't exactly go full Debo right away, you're not going to be completely satisfied. Laviska Shenault was another one with the Jaguars for a couple of years. They move him to the Panthers. Panthers need weapons right now, and they have gotten the ball a couple of times, but it's not like they're throwing him 15 passes a game. Right. There's one team, though, that is pretty good at like inserting and pulling out these gadget guys. It is the Chiefs.
Yep. Yeah, Andy Reid will scheme some weird screens up for him, and they'll do some stuff with him once he's healthy. I mean,
yeah, they might have a concern with Sky Moore too. I know Sky Moore's been like muffing punts and things like that.
yeah, he's a
Sky.
very different kind of player, but maybe
He's
special teams wise, they feel like they, can Tony do some? I don't think Sky Moore is a Tony. CCX3 asks, is Sky Moore kind of a Tony?
Yeah.
Sky Moore is more of a speed.
He's
not. He's not. I don't think Sky Moore is a like fidgety speed guy. He's more of a like downfield speed guy.
So he's a weird combination because he's a slot kind of guy, but he's a downfield slot. Not nifty shifty slot. And he is somebody who has a special teams mentality. Tony is not known for a special teams mentality right now, but should be able to return kicks and punts because he's got that skill set. So almost like it's like halfway between Mecole and Sky Moore. You kind of create this and you add like a wildcat quarterback and you get Kadarius. Oh my God, they're going to run wildcat plays with Kadarius Toney at the goal line. I just realized that. Oh no!
On 4th and 1, probably.
It just hit me like a thunderbolt. I don't like the thought of it.
So the Giants miss Tony because they're not using him. And this is the number 3 game for playoff odds. Giants 93% with a win.
Oh God! No!
71% even if they lose. Seahawks 67% with a win, 37% with a loss. So it's a question of who do you believe in more, Geno Smith or the Giants?
Neither. This is smoke versus mirrors in this game, and I'm still having a hard time getting a feel for either team. I'll throw something out there. The Seahawks have had 11 rushing plays of 20-plus yards this season. 11 rushes of 20-plus yards. I believe the Browns are higher than them, but the Browns do nothing but just give the ball to Chubb, and he cranks out 25-yard gains. Seahawks have gotten a lot of benefit from that running game. The Giants have 7 passing plays, only 7 passing plays of 20-plus yards. The next lowest team is the Rams at 14, okay? 7. How are you 6-1 in the modern NFL when you've only got
Daniel Jones has been good at deep passes the first couple of years, and they're not throwing them.
Right, and now he's this very clever little pump fake and move defenders over the middle of the field and scramble for first downs and run options at the end of the game. And he's this totally different guy. And Geno Smith's a totally different guy.
Yes, and Geno's not going away. Geno has had 2 mediocre games this year, weeks 2 and 6, and 5 really good games, including last week. It's not going away.
It's going away. I'm calling it soon. It might not be against the Giants. You really watched last week's game against the Chargers. There were some interception balls that bounced off some Chargers. Teams are starting to catch up with him. So when he faces a better defense, he faces, the 49ers again, but he played poorly against them. I think we're going to start to see the fade, not all the way to 2012 of Geno, but the fade to, this is a win despite quarterback with Geno.
The Geno Smith revenge game, a couple people have mentioned. Ted Kerwin wants to know, is either Danny Jones or Geno Smith the quarterback for these teams next year?
I've been thinking about this, and I want to write about this. And I'll say this about Geno. The contract I would give Geno is the Jameis Winston contract that he just got with the Saints. I know that sounds like a bad example, but the Saints gave Geno like 2 years at I forget what it was, like 28 million, 30 million. So it's like this short-term starter money, but not necessarily like, here's, Josh Allen money to see if he could repeat it. And he hasn't. And at the same time, if you're the Seahawks, you can create a contingency plan while making sure you took care of Geno. That's what I think of for him. Daniel Jones, I would really sit back and wait for somebody else to bite.
Yeah, I feel like if Brian Daboll can develop Jones like this in a year, like what can he do with the top rookie?
Right.
I mean, they're not going to be in place to get a top rookie because I was completely wrong about them, and they've had like this horseshoe up their tuchus, and they've like won all these games, and they're going to the playoffs. I mean, it's ridiculous, but I don't know what they're going to do for quarterback because I wouldn't keep Daniel Jones as the quarterback. I would move to something else, but what else do you move to if you don't have a top draft pick?
And that's it. It's one thing you say, well, I could keep him if I could get him again for 2 years and 22 million. Maybe you make that move. He's younger. Geno would look at that as a guy in his 30s and realize this is a logical extension for me. Jones would probably be seeking something else. So it's especially for Joe Sheen. It's going to be a real litmus test of if he can come up with a creative way to compensate Jones or flip the switch and say, we brought in X, like we traded up so that we can get Stroud or, made some other kind of move. We brought in Bailey Zappi, bad example, but
no, but who's the kid from Kentucky, like the third or fourth quarterback?
Right. You get somebody like that in and say, we're going to make this happen with this guy because we can develop quarterbacks this way.
Here's a crazy Giants DVOA split. And remember, all these down and distance DVOAs are available at FO Plus subscription. First down offense, 26th passing and third running. Second down offense, first passing and 24th running.
No.
There's no reason why that should be. That's got to just be random chance, but it's funny.
It's very weird. So what it sounds like is handoff, you get 2nd and 3, which opens up your entire playbook, and then
except DVOA adjusts. Right, the baseline is different depending on the and 3 versus and 7. So the DVOA, your DVOA on second down is not affected by how many yards to go there are. But maybe it is. Maybe it's just the way their pass plays work are set up better by second and short than an average. Even though most teams' pass plays are set up better by second short, maybe the Giants' pass plays are even more better set up by second and short.
Or it's just statistical residue for a weird team.
The line is Seahawks -3. Who you taking?
I'm going with the Giants. I can't believe I'm saying that. It just came out of my mouth going with Giants. I was always looking at one more stat here. Missed tackles by the defense. The Giants have only missed 24 tackles this year. If you watch Giants football, one of the things you see is, this is a team that's tackling properly, and they're not giving up a lot of extra, gash runs and yaks. Seahawks 44 missed tackles on defense. We've seen their defense struggle a lot during the season. So if both teams are in like the smoke and mirrors realm, I'm looking at the Giants. And one last thing we forgot to mention, DK Metcalf on the injury list.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Yes. No, we don't know. It's up in the air.
Are the Giants a big play action team? Joey Sucks asks. Is that something you can look up quickly?
It's something I can look up quickly if you can vamp a little bit while I do.
I'll vamp a little bit on what my pick actually is. I was going to take the Seahawks, but I forgot about the Metcalf injury. Here's what I like for picks. 1, over 44.5.
Okay.
Right? These teams are both better on offense than defense. Second, Seattle's Q1 line, and I don't know what it is, but I would take Seattle to lead after Q1. They have the number 2 offense in first quarter. The Giants have the number 30 defense in the first quarter.
Huh. So first quarter on, which way do we go with the first quarter?
Seattle to lead.
Okay. I like the sound of that, and I might make a play on that. That's tricky though. It's a 4:00 game. I'll be typing away.
Yeah.
About the game. It looks Giants are a middle of the road play action team. So I don't have I won't be able to parse that right now. I don't see these ridiculous stats. Just off the top of my head, it doesn't look like that's the main thing that they're accomplishing.
Yeah.
Okay. Very diverse offensively, except they don't get the ball deep in any way.
All right. One more game to talk about here, and that is Green Bay at Buffalo. This is the most important game for our Super Bowl odds, but that's entirely because of the Bills. So the Bills make the Super Bowl 51% of the time with a win, 44% with a loss. The Packers make the playoffs 47% of the time with a win and 26% of the time with a loss. The Buffalo pass defense, which is the best in the league, falls to 19th on third downs when the Packers pass offense is 30th.
And we have a thing up on the site right now. Derek wrote about the woes of the Packers.
Problems of the Packers offense. Yeah.
Yeah. He did that at our site. You can get some details there. At the New York Times, I wrote a thing with the usual Aaron Rodgers slander about things going wrong. And it's mysterious, and it's actually very difficult to watch. I talk about Brady's difficult to watch, and that offense is difficult to watch because it's slam Lenny off tackle for a gain of 2, and then 3rd and 8, you're hoping for magic that used to be. The Packers, it's swing passes on 3rd and 13 to the running backs. And on this play, Romeo Doubs ran the wrong way. And on this play, Sammy Watkins ran the wrong way. And Rodgers is launching these bombs. And,
our numbers definitely suggest. And when I've watched, I've seen, I would say, I feel like Brady is playing better than Rodgers.
I'd go the other way, but I don't know how married I am to that. The one thing is, it looks like LaFleur is doing a lot more to keep the offense moving in terms of all the motion, in terms of, we're going to put both running backs split wide at wide receiver on this.
Oh, I would buy that LaFleur is doing more. Yeah, I just feel like as far as how they've actually looked, and then as far as how they've played efficiency wise, we have Brady higher than Rodgers. And when I've looked, I feel like Brady's just doing better.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I would have to sit and look at it. And of course, Brady recently has Godwin back and Evans back. And again, they're good receivers. I don't know if they're as elite as they were 2 years ago. Whereas, as Useful points out, Rodgers has Romeo Drops, who just is just sort of frustration incarnate for both Rodgers and fantasy.
I remember "Never Say Never" was a great song by Romeo Drops.
A receiver in trouble is a temporary thing.
Yeah. Here's a weird split. You want to hear crazy splits? Crazy splits on this game. The Packers are the worst offense in the league between the 40s. You're laughing. You're still stuck on our Romeo Void jokes? Nobody watching this even remembers who Romeo Void is. We're talking about the motels next. Jeez.
Okay.
The waitresses. Well, it's almost time for the waitresses.
Yeah, it's Christmas
started already. It's almost time for the waitresses.
Right. They make all of they're putting their grandkids now through college with their Christmas
off one
stuff.
song. Yeah.
Okay. Let's. All right.
Phil Galligan says, "Color me shocked by the Super Bowl odds for the Packers." No. Those numbers I gave were to make the playoffs, not to make the Super Bowl.
Yes.
They were not 47% to make the Super Bowl. They were 47% to make the playoffs.
To make the playoffs. Playoffs in the NFC. Playoffs. They're just trying to win a damn game.
Yeah. So here's the weird stats. Ready? Okay. Packers, worst offense in the league between the 40s.
Yes.
Number 2 behind Kansas City on the other 80 yards of the field.
So in the red zone, really good.
Yep.
In the back zone, really good. I saw them from the 1-inch line get a drive going against the Commanders.
In between the 40s, horrible. I have no idea why that would be, whether that's where they do their shot plays and their shot plays just have sucked this year or what. That's a weird, that feels like a weird sample size thing.
Yeah.
Here's the other weird split. The Bills are the best defense in the league against short right passes and the worst defense against short left passes.
Okay.
Even though they don't actually play their cornerbacks on specific sides, so that has nothing to do with specific cornerbacks.
They don't play by sides, and Trey White hasn't been involved in that data in any way. So, again...
Oh, do we have a graphic that said Super Bowl odds? Oh, the graphic was a misprint. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry about that. The Bills' Super Bowl odds are correct, though. They will make the Super Bowl 51% of the time.
If they win this game, yeah. Our ratings love the Bills this year. Love them.
Yeah, the world loves
Number 1 in the preseason. Number 1 now. By a significant amount. They're the Bills. It's all Bills.
Well, I'm not all Bills in this matchup because I need a play of the week. And I'm down 200 right now because everything is stacked against me. And I'm keeping things very, very simple. And what was the line I got when I decided?
10.5 is the consensus that I saw. ESPN said 11.5.
And I got 11 when I made the play. So I'm sitting on the Packers plus 11. As you described, backs against the wall. That's a lot of points to give up for a team that still has Aaron Rodgers quarterback, was still a preseason favorite, et cetera, et cetera. So nothing fancy, no parlays, nothing else. Straight up Packers. Not straight up Packers. Packers and the points, excuse me, this week.
Yeah, not straight up Packers.
No. Although you can get the money line.
I feel like Packers in the points because I feel like Rodgers, Bills go ahead. Rodgers is not going to fold up into a ball and die.
Right.
He's going to keep coming after it.
Exactly.
And this definitely could be a backdoor cover kind of a situation.
It could be a backdoor cover type of thing, or just a lingering game. It's like, oh, they're trailing by 8, trailing by 1 touchdown the whole time. I could definitely see something like that. By the way, if you really believe a Packers upset, which I'm not advocating, money line's plus 400 if that's the way you're rolling.
So what's your big Sunday night parlay? We've got a Sunday night parlay here.
I had a Sunday night parlay. Let me go find it real quick. Josh Allen, 300 plus passing yards. Josh Allen, 1+ rushing touchdown. I think that's your rub. And Aaron Rodgers, 250 plus passing yards, plus 700.
I like it.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's fun. It gives you a good, fun reason to watch Sunday night. Allen does rush in a lot of touchdowns.
That's it. They
I like
use him a lot. You use him a lot as sort of like that goal line, either on the bootleg or just the sneak. So
I mean, parlays are usually schmuck bait, but this one
Yep.
feels a lot less schmuck bait. Like this one feels like it's a lot closer to what it really is, and it's fun.
right, and that's it. It's fun, and hey, sometimes it's fun to be the schmuck. Get on the hook, watch the game. You hit one of those every 6 weeks, and you're a winner.
All right, Joey Sucks wants to know the Chiefs' chances of making the Super Bowls and how they are affected by this game for the Bills. In situations where the Bills win, we have the Chiefs going to the Super Bowl 15% of the time.
Okay.
And in situation where the Packers win, we have the Chiefs go to the Super Bowl 18% of the time.
So it's not that big a impact.
I mean, we have the Chiefs, even though they're now our number 2 team in the AFC, we have them lower than everybody else.
Okay.
Because of their defense being below average.
And
because we like the Ravens and we like the Bengals, and they're going to have to get past not just the Bills, but the Ravens and the Bengals.
And 3 percentage points for the Super Bowl at this time of the year. That's pretty big still. That's a pretty
and for a game that's not yours. That's not your win, right? Like
right.
But it's remember that this game will not matter for tiebreakers. Right? So if the Bills lose this and then end up in the tie in some sort of a tie with the Chiefs, this loss doesn't do anything for the tiebreaker for the number 1 seed because it's an NFC because they're playing the NFC.
That's right. They'd have to go 13 times. Yeah, it has no impact whatsoever. Yeah.
Right. So this doesn't affect the Chiefs. The Chiefs game affects the Chiefs a lot more than the Chiefs don't have a game this week, but would affect there's a lot more than
right.
All right, that does it for the show, folks. Thank you to everybody who made comments and asked questions on Twitch and on YouTube. We're really happy to have you here, 1:00 Eastern every day. Thank you from me. Thank you from Mike. If you are listening to the podcast, please like and rate the show and let people know about the show and bring more people on to listen to the show and spread the word. And hopefully you all enjoy Baltimore and Tampa tonight and the whole week 8. And Mike will be back Monday at 1, and I will be back Tuesday at 1. And we'll see you